Welcome back. In last couple of videos, we discussed what GenAI is, its history and a bit of its genesis from where it originated. And then at a high level, we touched upon what large language models are and what they do. The link of these videos are in the description below. Please do check them out. You haven't done that already. Now in this video, we are going to start setting up the tools and software that we need for building some exciting GenAI application. So without any further ado, let's do that. Okay, so very first thing, let's set up quickly Git and GitHub, our source control system. So in this diagram here on the left side, you can see that there are two tools specified. One is Git, another is GitHub. So basically Git is a local source control system. So you track your code changes on your local machine as shown here. So in this diagram, you can see there are three people working separately and they are tracking their changes separately here, right, using Git. And so Git is totally independent of what GitHub is. And as you can see, the GitHub lies at the center, which means it is as the name suggests, it's a hub. So basically what happens is you develop locally, you track your code here, and then you go and push your code in GitHub. So if three people in a team working on a project separately on, let's say, on different functions or different module, then they develop these things separately and then they push it to GitHub to make a unified product. So that's why it's a hub. Basically it's a cloud setup now owned by Microsoft, but it's free to use and for individual and small project teams. You don't have to pay as long as your repo is public. So same thing is specified here on the right side, where you can see this red line. It's the truth, which is you can say this is the production version of the software, right? This is what your end user or your client will get. And on the left and right side, you can see these black, yellow and green dots. So these are the local changes being handled by different people at different times, and at the end of it everybody comes and they merge their changes in this main it's also called a trunk, and so this person merges first, so these changes are here, then this guy merges second, this third, and then finally somewhere here you get the final release of the software, right? So this is the whole concept. So for our purposes in this video series, we are not going to use this model. So this is a proper production and the industry, that's how it's done. Since we'll be working alone, so only thing what we need is this. So Git Setup on our local machine, and then we'll sign up for GitHub where we'll be pushing our code, right? Now one more thing I want to mention here, as you can see this this is an old image from wherever I've taken. It's called master, but nowadays this has changed. It's not called master, it's called main. Now you might be thinking why I'm mentioning this, because it's pretty interesting. So if let me just search and see. So if you search Git master versus main, why is this? Let's remove this. Okay. So this is the article, and here it says in 2020, GitHub announced significant changes in default branch naming convention, switching to from master to main, right? And why it is that? Because few people found it offending calling the main trunk or main branch as master because of historical reason of slavery and domination. So that's why this has changed. So just a fun fact. Okay, let's go back here. Now I'm going to leave a few articles in the description, which probably you can check it out later, and they basically introduced they will introduce you to what are the main functions and main commands and how to use Git and GitHub. The first one is this from the official GitHub documents. It basically specify these 5 steps which are a very basic steps that you need to know for use the GitHub repo. And not to worry, these are the steps. Some of the steps we'll be doing as well, even multiple times the course of this video series. Another article is more of is from not it's not an official document from whoever has created, thanks to him or her. So this document specifies right from the beginning how to install Git, GitHub, and how to use both of them together. So I'll leave the link in the description so you can check it out. And we will be doing most of the steps during our course of the video. So let's first get to install Git and GitHub, and then we'll proceed further. Okay, so let's first start with Git installation. So just search for Git in your search engine. The very first link is the home page. Let's go there. Now this is the download page, and for every operating system there is a separate, obviously, the installation procedure. So for if you are on Mac OS, then the easiest way will be the single command. You can install using Homebrew. If you do not want to use Homebrew, then there is an option to download a binary installation provided by Tim Harper. I don't know who is he, but thanks to him. If you have Xcode installed, then Git will come automatically on your Mac OS. Now, if you are on Linux, then obviously depending upon the kind of Linux you're using, you need to use one of the installation package managers. So for if you're on Ubuntu and Debian, then just use apt and apt-get to install Git, and it's pretty simple, pretty fast. I'm using Windows, so I'm going to demo and show that how to install Git on Windows. So it's pretty easy. Just download this installer and just double click and it will install. Just click it, authenticate, and install. But I'm not going to do that because I've already got this installed. So I'm going to, yes, cancel it. Once you have installed, regardless of your operating system, what you have to do is you have to go on your command terminal, or terminal if you're on Mac OS and Linux, then you have to go on terminal and just type Git, and if it should produce output showing all the command for Git. So for Windows, the default command prompt for Windows 10 and Windows 11 is PowerShell. So if I just type Git in here, so you should get something like this, which is basically nothing but the help page for the Git. If you are able to see this, that means it has installed properly. Okay. Now, one more thing I want to mention: if you are using Windows, then there is a quirk in Windows that it doesn't come with its own inbuilt terminal, just like Mac OS and Linux, right? So the inbuilt terminal which is provided with the operating system is PowerShell and command prompt, and generally for doing a serious development work, it's not considered very good. So one advantage of installing Git is Git comes with a kind of simulator which simulate the Unix like terminal environment, just like Mac OS and Linux. So you will feel at home. So if you can seamlessly transition between Mac OS, Linux, and Windows using this supplied simulator. So once you have installed on Windows, once you have installed Git, just come to Windows search bar and then just type Git. The first thing you'll see is the Git bash. Git bash is the simulator. So if you click, it will just open. It may not look like this because I have configured it and have changed the colors and all for this window. Basically, you can right click here, go to options, and here you can experiment with, you can change the font colors, everything, right? So this, even though it's running in Windows, but I can interact with the OS using any Unix like command, such as present working directory. I can do ls, I can do clear, like just like a Unix system, which helps a lot. So this is what I'm going to use, right? So it makes life a bit easier. Now, one more thing I want to mention is, if you search in Windows terminal, then you'll see this terminal app. Now, this is a kind of misnomer. This is not exactly the same terminal which you see in macOS and Linux. It is more kind of a container. So using this program, what you can do is, if you open it, what I have done is here, let me make it bigger. What I have done, I have associated my Git bash, which I got installed when I installed Git, with this terminal program. On top of this, I have also configured PowerShell. I've also configured command prompt. These are the two available via Windows. This I have installed. If I want, I can install third-party shell or command terminal, and I can associate with this. So this is kind of considered as a folder or a container of various shells, and they can be open in various tabs. So it makes life easy and very convenient. So I can open multiple Git bash as well. So if I keep pressing this plus sign, so I can open multiple terminals. So if you have ever worked on Linux or Mac OS terminal programs, then this kind of facility is provided over there. So it just simulates the same thing, right? And configuring this is not very hard. So once you have opened the terminal, you have to just go and click this down arrow, and you can go to settings. And then here under profiles, you can add a profile. Profile here is nothing but a new command shell. So in my case, I have 3 profiles I have created. So if you click on add profile, then you will see something like this, and you have to fill up name and the path of the executable. Now you can put the, if there is icon, you can put the icon path, and starting directory is just, you can put it just like this, percentage user profile this, right? And just save it, and then it will appear in the drop down next time if you open it. So just like this. So you'll see it here. So in this video series, I'm going to use this terminal for any command line work, and I'm going to use Git bash, not PowerShell or any other PowerShell or command prompt. I'm not going to use that. So let's start that. So should make it bigger. Okay. So now we have installed Git. So you can see the output help page. That means installed. Okay. Now what I am going to do is, I am going to create, as I mentioned earlier, that Git is a local source control system. So we are going to let's test it creating a local repo, and let's create a dummy file. Let's try to track it. Let's see how it works. And then in the second part, what we are going to do, we are going to create a GitHub repo, and we are going to connect these two together. And then you will see that seamlessly we can make changes here and push it to GitHub. That's the plan. So let's create this. So I am where I am in home. What I'm going to do, for every project in this video series, we are going to create a folder. So make directory. This is a Unix command for creating a new directory, and I'm going to call it, let's call it git demo. Okay. Then let me cd. So now this is totally empty. Now in order to, okay, let's first create a file, right? So let me create touch demo.txt. So touch command basically creates a file, and then let me just put it something inside here. So first line, okay. So consider this as a first version, right? So this is our file. So this is, consider this as a source code or any other file you want to track. So let's say we want to track this demo.txt. So right now this is not trackable, and Git doesn't know that it exists. So I'm going to create an empty I'm going to initialize the Git repo. So the way to do is Git and then init, right? Once you do that, it will say that it has created or initialized a Git repository at this path, which is nothing but .git. So everything, all the tracking, everything happens under this directory. This, we don't need to touch this. Git will do its work automatically. Okay. Now, if I, since this is a source controlled directory there, let's check what's tracking. So command is to check what's happening currently with your git track directory is git status. If you do that, it's going to say that untracked file. That means it knows that demo.txt is there, but it's not tracking at all, right? So in Git, in order to source control a file, two steps are involved. One is we have to tell the Git that, okay, we want to track this file, which is called staging. And then we make changes and then we can commit. Once we commit, Git creates a version of file. So commit is a kind of checkpoint. And if you have committed a file and later on, let's say on top of that commit, you created 4 more changes, and then you have to go back to first version, then you can go that. And that's where the source control helps, right? So let's do the first step, which is adding to the file, which is staging. So what we need to do is git add and the file name. Okay. Now we'll fix this later on. This is because difference between the how the end of the line is treated between Unix like systems and the Windows system. Since I am on Windows, and Git originally came from the Unix world, so it was part of the Linux operating system development itself. That's why it says that, okay, your line feed and your end of line is basically different than what I imagine. So we can configure that. So for now we'll not do that. Later on probably we'll do that. Okay, so if we repeat our command git status now, you see the difference. Now it knows that this file is here. It says that untracked. Now he's saying that new file. So it's tracking this file. What is asking us? The changes to be committed. That means I'm tracking the changes, but I have not versioned it or labeled it. So if you lose it, then you cannot go back to it. So in order to preserve those changes, we have to commit it. So next step is, first is staging, which is adding the file. Second is the commit. So let's go and commit it. So git commit -m, and so -m stands for message. So basically it's a good practice to give a descriptive name of the changes you are committing, right? So for now I'm just giving first commit. Okay, and I'm not going to specify the file name, because when you give this commit command, Git is automatically going to look for all those files which are staged. That means they are being tracked but not committed yet. In this case there is only one file, so it is just going to commit it everything. I was saying one file change. Okay, so let's clear this and let's do let's do git status again. Nothing to commit. Okay, but there is another command called git log. Git log will show what actually is happening within the Git repo. So in this case, you see there is a later on you'll see that when you we are going to make changes on bunch of source code file and creating branches and all, then you'll see that these description changes. So in this case, saying that, okay, there is one commit and this is a unique code for that commit, right? And head main means currently I'm pointing to main branch, which I mentioned. This is the, instead of master, now it is called main, right? So far this is what we have done, and later on we'll come back to this. Once we create GitHub and connect this file, which is currently hosted locally, right? It is not there in cloud, nobody can access this. So consider if the three developers are working three different places, they might be making such changes and they are held within their local working environment with local machines, and other person can't access this, right? So in order to push it to GitHub, the next thing we have to do is we'll go and create a GitHub account, create a GitHub repo, which will be hosted on cloud, and then we'll push these changes, this file. So basically sync with GitHub, right? Okay, so let's do that next. All right, so next is let's set up GitHub quickly. So open your search engine of choice and just search for GitHub. The first link will be the homepage. Go there. Now, if you don't have GitHub account, then like any other service you use nowadays, you have to sign in. It's a simple sign-in procedure. Just provide your email and your information, password, and it will just give you access. It is free to use. So once you have logged in, we have created account, then you have to log in. So I have already created my account, so I'm going to just log in. So click this sign in button here, provide your username. So in my case, this is my username. Provide your password you have set up. Oops. What happened? Okay. So you will be sent to your dashboard or maybe to your profile page. So your profile initially it will look empty, so you can configure the way you like. You can put your picture, about you, your social media, contacts, whatever, right? So this is something for you to build if you haven't used GitHub before, right? So once we are here, what we are going to do, as I mentioned, we have already created a local repo, right? So our job is to make changes locally and then push it to cloud, which is here in this repo which we are going to create. So we'll go under repository here, and then this is a new button. Just click here and then give a name. Let me call this same as Git demo, and this is available. That's fine. Now you can choose public and private, but private is mostly for close community work where you're working with the team. You do not want anybody to see what you're working on. So we are not going to use private, so we will be keeping our repo public. You can give a description. Here, readme file. You can readme file is just a kind of a plain markdown file which appears when anybody opens your repo. So this content of this file will appear. Basically in this file you write what this repo is about, some technical details, your contact details and all, right? So it's kind of help file. So for now let's leave that. Just create this repo. Once you create, GitHub is automatically going to assume and suggest what are your next steps. So it's saying that, okay, your repo is ready. So in order to bring in your local changes to GitHub, this repo, these are the things you are going to do. So if you notice, we have done this. Git init we have done already. Readme we are not going to create right now. We're not going to do it. Commit, we have done our first commit. These are the three commands which we are going to follow, right? So first command tells Git. So these commands we are going to show on local machine. So first command is going to tell Git that, okay, we are interested in pushing changes from the main branch which we created last time, right? This second command, git remote. Now this is the destination. So if we are pushing from the local machine where those changes are going to go. So here I'm specifying my remote directory is nothing but this one, the one which I have created. So this is the destination, this is the target, this is on GitHub, right? And this is final command is, once we know our source, once I know our destination, I'm going to push it. Origin, which is this, and main is this, right? So just 3 simple commands and your changes magically will appear in cloud. So let's do that. So let me go back to my terminal. Okay, so let's link our local and GitHub repo and push our changes. So first thing we are going to do is we are going to set up our remote repo which is just created, which is our destination. Then we are going to specify what is the source, which is our main branch in this repo, and then eventually we are going to push it. So all the changes from local will go to GitHub, and hopefully this will work. Yep. Okay, so now it's saying that this guy has synced it. So let's go back to our repository. So if we refresh it now, you will see this is the demo text, right? If I open it, you can see that my changes are there in this. It's been synced. So now both our local and our remote is synced. Okay, let me go back. Now what I'm going to do is let me make changes to our file. So I'm going to do is to add a second line. Okay. So now if I do git status, just like before, it's going to show me that, okay, this file is already being tracked. So Git knows that this file I'm tracking and this is modified, and it is telling me this is not staged for commit. So again, I have to repeat the same process. So I have to do git add demo txt. Okay. If I do status now you'll see that the changes are tracked now. Okay. And then I'm going to commit it. Git commit -m. This is the second change. That's it. Okay. Sorry. But now they are out of sync. Like this GitHub file version contains this first line, however my local is ahead of this guy. Okay. So let us push it again. So now what we have to do is we do not have to specify the first 2 command where we are setting source and destination. For this repository local, it already knows that main branch is the source and destination is the new repo which you have created, which we did set up last time, right? So in this case, we have to simply do git push. It's going to push all the changes. It's going to find what is the difference between these two and going to push it. So now if you go here and let's refresh, now you see my comment is here. If you open this file and you'll see the second, this is the latest file we have. So that's how it works in conjunction. You make changes to your local repo, all the changes. Once you're satisfied it's working fine, then you push it to cloud, and then you can access it from anywhere, or if your colleagues are working on the same project, they can, because the repo is public, so they can go and view it. So this process we are going to do again and again when we'll be working on various project in upcoming videos. So this will be just the second nature. It's not very hard to do. So far we are done with our source control. So let's move on to our next tool setup. Before we proceed any further, one very important thing I forgot to mention is if you have just created your GitHub account, right? It never existed and prior to this occasion you have never synced or try syncing your local repos to your GitHub, then when you issue this command, git push, Git is going to ask for your username and password. So username is same that you have used for GitHub creation. However, if you provide the same password, then it's not going to work. It's going to reject it because recently, I think 2-3 years back, GitHub has changed its policy to not to allow the password for remote to local sync. So solution to that is, I quickly want to mention it. You go to your GitHub account. Let's try that. So once you go to your GitHub account, you go to your profile here where profile picture is. Then you go to settings. Then on the left side, this side, you go down, you'll find this developer settings. Click that, and then you'll find this personal access tokens. Click this down arrow. You'll find two options here. So the first one is for very fine control, which you need for the repo access. We are not going to use that. Just click this token classic. And then here you can come and generate a new token. I have got one created for mine. So you can initially, if you've never done this before, it will be empty. And this button will appear somewhere here to create a new token. So you click this and generate new token classic. Okay, you can give a name, whatever, temp demo token. You can specify for security reasons, they have provided that, okay, you can specify that, okay, for 7 days only this token will be valid. So even if somebody gets access to your token, after 7 days, they can't use it. So it's for security reasons. You can keep it as long as you want. So if you do not want to specify end date, then just say no expiration. Then see, it's giving you the warning. Okay. So for the very basic use, you just click this one, okay, repo. And then go down and then you click this generate token. It will give you this gibberish long string, which is your token. Now, if you read the description here, it says that you won't be able to see it again. So it appears only once and you are expected to copy it. And once you close this page and go back from here, you will never be able to see this again. So copy it, save it somewhere safe. Maybe if you are using a password manager, save it there. And then let's go back here. So instead of password, just supply this token and it should work. So I just wanted to mention that.